All right, whenever you want to build a project and you want it to be unique, there's probably going to be one or two holes in the chassis, in the front panel, and it might be just a simple hole, okay? But then you get out your hand drill, or as in this case now, everything's battery powered. This is my old time hand drill. I used this all through high school. Every hole I ever made, no matter how big, was drilled with this, with a series of holes, the hard way, okay? So I know all about chassis punches and all these. My father used to bring up the word broaching tools and stuff we didn't have in the house, okay? So what I learned to do is I learned to think about what I wanted to cut out, cut the hole, and then decide. I actually would just say, before Nike said it, just do it, get it done. Even if I got to spend 2 days on the hole, get it done. Now, let's put this famous drill, I think it's a Yankee, put that off to the side. Let's say you want to cut this panel. Now I'm keeping this panel off to the side for a second because it's messing up the camera. The infrared coming off the light up into the camera is causing different brightness levels. All right, now, when you need to make a hole or an oblong hole or something for like a connector, you may need a couple series of holes and lay it out, and you use some kind of compass. Now in this case, this is a divider. It's got steel pins, okay? This is great for laying out on metal. Now a lot of you guys, oh, I use that Deckham, I use that blue dye. I have it, okay? All the stories I can tell you about this stuff, okay? How a person will take a whole jar of this, take a big sheet of aluminum and coat the whole one side of the aluminum and then not make anything with it. And then you got to use that aluminum, and every time you make something, you got blue on one side of it. Yeah, I have it. Also have these for making holes, okay? I showed you in my other videos, my nibbling tools. I have two kinds of nibbling tools, but let's go back 1968. All right, my father bought me this set of drafting. These are compasses, and one metal pins. It's a divider. One for ink. This is the ink one, and then the one for pencil. And I still use these. Okay. Matter of fact, I use this too much. I put it away, and then I got to go get it and bring it back out. Let's fit this off to the side. Now, how do I lay out a hole? Okay. Now we're going to put the aluminum in the way and screw up the camera. Okay. Here we go. Now, you got to lay out a hole. You're going to use a scribe. So let's just say we're going to put a hole here. Okay? This is how I did it the hard way. I'm going to show you the hard way because the easy way is a hole punch or a nibbling tool or a reamer. And when it comes to a chassis, a metal chassis, aluminum, something like this. I made this one with the Harbor Freight bender. In other words, thin aluminum, when you go to drill a really big hole in it, you got to do it in stages. You got to drill a hole and then put a reamer in there and slowly build it up, or work it away. Use a deburring tool. But these work if you have a drill press. But 1968, I got my projects done. Now I put a little mark in here, and you take your compass, and this is a divider type, and you stick it in the little hole. I don't have my glasses on, but will suffice. I think it's right. Yep, it's right there. Okay, now you go around and you scratch your hole. Now the next step, when you're poor and can't afford everything, you drill a series of holes. And you're going to say, that'll take forever. I picture me doing this with this. But that's what I'm about. Get it done. Don't talk about it. Get it done. Okay? My father would come home from work and he'd see a chassis with a metal hole, cut in it, nice and clean. And I'd mount something in it. And he'd say to me, how did you do that? And that's because I would spend 3-4 hours drill in a series of holes. Now once you get the holes, you go back around and you go between them. I'm doing this real fast, but just get it done. At the end of the day, you'll have a hole, you'll have the tube mounted, multiplexing on a stereo. You put a multiplex tube on there, and you change your FM stereo to stereo, or FM radio to stereo. Okay, you see an article in the magazine, and you dream about it. And in my case, I had the tubes. My dad was a TV repair shop, had a TV repair shop, and we had a bunch of tubes. And they would always use a very common tube. All right, so picture me with that old thing, drilling all these holes. All right, and you get all the holes as close as you can together, and then you get out a miniature rat tail file. Okay, here it is. And I had a few of these when I was younger. My dad would bring them home from work. He was also a tool maker. And now, after you got all your series of holes, now you can drill bigger holes and then fill in with smaller holes. And then slowly file, here I just dropped it, slowly file between the holes. And then when you get all the holes, you file between all the holes, the big piece falls out. And then you get a bigger file, a round file, and you go in and touch it all up and clean it up. And then maybe put your tube socket in there, and then you mark where your two holes have to go. But that's how I used to do it. Okay? Yeah. Now I can put a big hole in the center, or a hole in the center. Work it with this thing. Get my punch in the middle. Okay, and then knock it out that way. But it still takes time. You got to want to do it, and that's what the difference is between a guy that talks about building things and a person that never builds anything. And I had people borrow, like, I had a set of Greeley hole punches. And these guys would always borrow them. And after 6 months, I said, no, bring them back in. Well, I'm not done yet. I said, you didn't even start. Well, yeah, 6 months, you didn't even start? Well, I'm going to get to it. No, you're not. You're not going to get to it. And then they bring the punches back, and then they tell me something like, where can I get them? Your wife's not going to let you buy them. What? That's $38 for the set. Oh, that's ridiculous. No, that's what they cost. Okay? And this is all the stuff I went through with people. It would be the same scenario over and over. And here's the problem. Most men don't finish their projects. Okay? And I can't tell you how many people were going to rebuild a car. They were all around me. And I'm pumping out these projects or working on their stuff. Okay? That's why they couldn't say anything to me, because I was actually doing their stuff. The work that was getting done by them was being done by me. Okay? And that's why I had this really bad attitude. And I realized people were bullshit. And George Carlin, he says, people are bullshit. And then there are people that go around in life that basically do the work for everybody else. Okay? Now, you just probably heard in the background, here comes a motorcycle. These guys, they go up the street 1,000 feet to the Wawa. They drive a motorcycle up there. Sometimes they drive a 100 horsepower truck, or the big trucks, the F10s, F110s, F150s. The only action that truck sees is going up to Wawa to get a coffee or an ice cream. Okay? That's what's so funny about everything. I'm starting to like really realize, like I would never throw this. This has too many memories in it. I think this is a Yankee too. I know it's made in the United States, but this thing has, coil winding. We mounted it one time, and he turned it, and I wound coils on this thing when I wasn't using my dad's old lathe. Yeah, the thing has seen projects, man. Okay, and that's what I realized. I worked with a couple guys that actually finished their projects, and we grouped together, and we were the top technicians. Okay, because the person that really suffers through a project really becomes a good repairman. He knows with great estimates what's going to go wrong with something, and how long it's going to take to fix it. And you get one of these bosses, I used to call them dandies, and these guys, they worry about how their hair looks and how their suit looks, and they're always doing this stupid stuff. Like this one guy in RCA, he had guys come in on the weekend. He got the special deal through the company. He wrote this letter, and they would come in and polish all the Bakelite panels and stuff. And he gave them this polish, and he didn't do a test. And when the polish hit the plexiglass pieces, they shattered, or they discolored to yellow. They looked like shit. He took panels that were slightly dusty, made them look like shit, and then they became dusty anyway. And I said to someone, what happened to these panels? And then they told me the story. And I kept looking around, making sure the boss didn't come by. And then I was working on these chassis, and he would come over, and he worked on them too. And then he would say, oh, somebody wrote like a limerick on one of the chassis. So he made me erase all the limericks off all the chassis. And then one of the guys clued me in. He was doing that. Okay, but then when he became a boss, you're not supposed to do that. And it was really annoying stuff that I put up with. But I just want to tell you, just do it. Okay? You fail, you fail. Failure, you learn. As soon as you mess up, why did it happen? Were you pushing it too fast? You know, like the guys that push a drill through a hole. Okay? A sharp drill. You see them leaning on the hand drill or the electric drill. Why are you leaning? That thing's cutting fine. I want to get this done. And also, bing, the blade breaks. And then they turn to me, I need another one. Well, that was it. And then they want to use a smaller size. They're the ones that have a set of drills that half of them are missing. And they're always using a smaller one. And then they put the drill in and they do this crap. Okay? These lunkheads and fatheads and fat knuckleheads, fat knuckle boys, they're out there. And when you work with a guy that's close to what you are, the way you are, it's a dream. And in my lifetime, I had several people I worked with. They thought like I did. It went so smoothly. It was amazing. The one boss would put me and this other guy together, and a 4-hour job would be done in maybe an hour. Okay? And then the boss would put someone else on it, and then he'd come back to us, you and so-and-so have to come in Saturday. I don't know what they were doing, and then I had to come in and undo their work and then redo it and run maybe more lines, but it was amazing. And these guys, when they would go in for their review, they would tell the boss how smart they were. And then, believe it or not, a lot of the bosses would come out and sit with me and tell me what the guy said in the interview. I said, you're not supposed to be telling me. He goes, no, I got to share this with someone, you know. Like the one guy that said, the boss, that I took stuff home and slept with it, you know. And when I was a little kid, my dad used to bring me the tubings that milling bits come out of. They're little cardboard tubings. And yeah, when I was a little kid, I'd go to bed and I'd take them to bed with me. You know, they'd be in the bed. My mother would get all upset because they're sort of greasy and they get in the sheets and stuff. But yeah, I'm really into stuff. You know, I'm 7 years old and I'm still like really into it. And you know, I get these little comments like the one guy about being organized and that, yeah, you spend more time being organized than living life. Yeah, you're a hoarder, okay? You have all the answers because you're defending yourself. I organize every few months. When I finish a project, I clean up, and then I walk around, and I look at stuff, and I say, I'm never going to get to that. I don't want to do that. And then maybe I take it out, take it on the workbench, take a couple expensive parts off, and throw it out. It's gone. And I told you, I had a guy in my neighborhood, and he had every project he ever built in his entire lifetime. And he wouldn't throw any of it out. He couldn't. He would start melting down like a hoarder. If you ever watched the Hoarder program. And those guys are out there. And they're going to get to this. They're going to get to that. I had this one guy call me up, and I went over, and he had a whole garage full of his son's car parts. And he goes, you got to help me. I can't lift this stuff anymore. That's what caused me to get one of my hernias. Can you help me with this stuff? I got to throw this stuff out. I got to get rid of it. And I did. I found a guy that would come and take the steel. If you had more than 100 pounds, he'd come. And he came and took it. We cleaned the garage up, and he ended up moving the pool furniture, the pool crap into the garage, and it was still cluttered. But in other words, his kids kept telling him, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. And like this one engine in this one garage, it sat there for 30 years. I'm going to get to that. And it was a blown engine. The person had no idea what was wrong with the engine, but they kept it because someone gave it to them. And this stuff is amazing. I told you the one time after my dad died, I'm sitting in the chair in the living room and I'm cleaning the house out, and giving some stuff to my sister, throwing stuff out, giving stuff away. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what's that tarp in the corner of the cellar? You know, as a kid, I never went near it. I went down there and I pulled the tarp back, and it was a 3-phase motor, huge, but very light. And as I'm carrying it up the cellar stairs, one step at a time, I put it out for garbage. The garbage man picked it up and threw it into the garbage truck like it was lightweight. And I kept saying to myself, what was that? And I'm sitting and it hit me. My father was going to build a three-phase unit to drive his machines that he didn't have. Okay, think about that type of abstract. You know, he's going to rent a houseboat. He's going to walk across the United States. He had a whole bunch of these sayings, and he never did any of it. And I would go out and do a 100-mile bike ride. I'd get in the car and go down to South Jersey. You know, 3-hour ride, get out of the car, go on the bike ride, 100 miles, get back, put the bike back in the car, sit down and collapse for an hour, drive back in bumper-to-bumper traffic, get out, I come in the house, and my father's got a map out. He wants me to show him where I rode. I said, look, I was following arrows on the road. The goal was to get on the bicycle and the bicycle ride 100 miles. And he couldn't understand. I said, no, it's to start and to finish the fastest time you can. And it builds character. You know, I wasn't down in South Jersey to sightsee. And down there it was just chicken farms. Now it's all housing, but way back it was all chicken farms. And you go down one road 3 miles, make a left, and there would be arrows down on the pavement. Make a turn, and then at the halfway point, you'd stop and have a banana and some. Back then there was Gatorade. It had just come out a few years before. And you talk to some people, get on your bike, and you do the last 50 miles. And my father didn't understand that. He didn't understand starting and finishing stuff. And when I was younger, he'd start and finish projects, sort of. And then when I got older, I got to finish them. He would sort of start them. He would get the funding from my mother for the parts. He would sometimes put a dried out washer for a faucet on his lathe and turn it down and put a dried out faucet in the kitchen and then use a regular screw or a regular bolt to hold the washer in. And I'm like, you got to use stainless steel or brass. Oh, I'll put one of those in. And then a few months later, guess who's taking that sink apart and putting the real washer in there, drilling out the screw that don't belong there because it rusted in there. Yeah, that's how I know all this stuff. And people make comments. They leave these comments to me. You don't understand. I'm the person I'm picking on you, and you're making comments. You're falling right into the trap. I know you're not going to do what you're saying you're going to do. You know. Yeah, I spent too much time organizing. You spent too much time bullshitting. I think that's it. I hope you enjoy it. All right, that's it.